Community Forum is sponsored by the Easton Grange 196 and a friend of Yardley Wood Rink and the Easton Lions Club.
There's a storm across the valley, the clouds are rolling in. The afternoon is heavy on your shoulders. There's a truck out on the 4-lane, a mile or more away. The whining of his wheels just makes it colder.
Welcome to Community Forum. Today is January 26, 2024. I'm Priscilla Almquist-Olsen, your host, and today it gives me a great deal of pleasure to welcome an Easton resident and OA grad, somebody you might meet at the Y. She's a trainer there and has another life too. But today we're here to learn a lot about a very rare tumor that she experienced and she's a survivor. And hopefully the message to all of you out there will be that she is a resilient person, but you should be a resilient person. If you have a challenge, whether it's a tumor, cancer, whatever the challenge is, be resilient, be a fighter, be a survivor. And she's here to bring that message. So welcome to the show, Jen Marchetti.
Thank you. I really appreciate you having me. I actually, I grew up in Easton, but I have since moved, and I live in Berkeley. But I keep my ties to Easton by working in the community at the YMCA. I still love Easton like it's my home still. Yeah.
Right. So it'll always be your hometown.
Always, yes.
Always in your heart.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So working at the Y helps me to keep that.
And we have here on the table a tiger, and you mentioned earlier before the broadcast that that was the mascot.
Yes, I'm a 1989 grad.
So I'm going to get you on growing up in Easton too.
We'll see.
Show. All right, tell us a little bit about your background. And you grew up in Easton and went to OA.
I did. Yep. I grew up in the nice little Easton small community, and had my adventures as a young person, and then I moved out when I met my husband, and he was starting a career in first as an EMT medic and then on as a Brockton firefighter. And so I mostly raised my children during the early years and had little odd jobs here and there. I worked at a preschool in Easton Learning Adventures for quite a while. My children are young. A firefighter's wife, we have to be the person who's the constant, especially for the kids, because their schedule is not, a 5-day-a-week kind of a job. It's very changing. So I was the constant. I worked around my husband's schedule and my kids' schedule, and I worked as a preschool teacher. When my kids got older, I was lucky enough to then pursue my passion, which is fitness, and became a personal trainer and a group fitness instructor.
And that's what you're doing at the YMCA.
So that's what I do now. Prior, I had left for a little while during COVID. I wasn't working at the Y, but before COVID, I was the health and wellness coordinator. So I helped run a lot of the healthy living programs there, taught classes as well, and trained. It was wonderful. And then took a step back, and now I just really do exercise classes.
So this specialty that you have, this fitness specialty, how did that impact your diagnosis?
So it impacted in two ways, honestly. Exercise is very detrimental to this type of tumor. I had a pheochromocytoma. It's a very hard word to say. Had to learn how to say that. And it produces excessive amounts of adrenaline. So exercise is not a good idea when you have that tumor. Unfortunately for me, I didn't know that I had that tumor.
Mhm.
So I was not only producing excessive adrenaline, not knowing, but I also was adding to that with the exercise. And that is actually quite dangerous when you have a pheochromocytoma. When you have that, you're actually, your most activity should be maybe a light, easy walk.
Okay, so we're going to put up on the screen at the end of this interview the name of this tumor because it's so rare. And how rare is it, Jen?
When I was diagnosed, I was told 1 in a million people get it a year, and that 10% of the people that have it survive, and 90% are found at autopsies.
Okay, and
Yeah.
so you are part of that lucky 10%.
I am.
And it's wonderful, and I'm sure your children and your husband are over thrilled, and especially you. Here you are, you're sitting, you're the model of fitness. You're a physical trainer. You're doing everything right in order to stay fit and healthy, and that's helping. But I understand that you go to Dana-Farber once a year for follow-up checks.
So I do genetic testing twice a year with them. If there's something new, a new gene that they've researched, maybe I'll do it a little sooner. I see a doctor outside of Dana-Farber, but now I will be seeing a doctor that's a little more related. I haven't seen him yet, but I will be seeing him soon because of my unique complications that I'm having. My doctor that I have now feels that I need to see someone more specialized.
Okay, so what were the initial symptoms?
So a pheochromocytoma actually has many symptoms, and they mimic many other diseases or illnesses. For me, they're different for many people. For most of us, it's a high blood pressure, headaches, stomach aches, nausea, night sweats, those kinds of things. But then it comes with many other symptoms. And when my tumor, I had had it for many years but was unaware, when it became a problem, which they say my pheo was in crisis. Oh, another name for it is pheo, which is so much easier than saying pheochromocytoma, such a long name. Mine was in crisis, and partly, more than likely, because that I was exercising, but I was unaware. So for me, my body was shutting down. It wasn't able to sustain life, and I was struggling to basically make it through the day, every day.
So I assume that your doctors didn't recognize what this was because the rarity of it. And so how was it actually discovered?
So not to make it a long story, a long boring story of an illness, because it's about almost a year long of not knowing but being very sick. I had a fever every day. I had some swollen lymph nodes. I was kind of pushing them aside. I'm fine. I don't have time for this. Pop a Tylenol. I'll be fine. But then I recognized that, after quite a long time, a month or 6 weeks, I wasn't getting better. It's not normal to have a fever every day. It's not normal to feel like you need a nap after an hour of waking up, having sweats every night. I went to the doctors and told them, I have a fever, I have some swollen lymph nodes. One of them actually was abscessing. I need medication, maybe some antibiotic to fix this. And he agreed and gave me the antibiotic and then asked, after you've taken this 2 weeks later, I want you to come in and have some blood work. And I did. Believe it or not, I was shocked because I'm not very good at listening to my body, which is a message to all of you. Listen to your body. So I did go back and have that blood work, and that blood work came back abnormal. I had some, regular numbers, like my iron levels were off, my platelets were off, my white count was slightly off, nothing too crazy. And I was still having a lot of the symptoms. So he sent me to a hematologist that was nearby, that also specialized, that was also an oncologist, and just started the process of trying to figure out what was going on with me. Unfortunately, again, this type of tumor mimics many other things and illnesses. So I was being diagnosed with lymphoma was one of them, mono, strep throat, like many different things. And I did actually have strep throat and mono, didn't have the lymphoma, but I was sick because my body couldn't keep up. And my immune system was so low that I was sick every day with a new thing, with a cough, many different things were going on. It took a long time to finally realize I needed second opinions. And then there was another doctor that actually was the one who was my second opinion. He was an infectious disease doctor. I thought, well, maybe I have Lyme's disease. Like maybe this is from that. And he looked over a lot of my testing, which was one of them was a CAT scan. And he said, you have a mass on your adrenal gland. What are these other doctors doing for it? And I said, I was told we're watching it. And he kind of gave me a funny look. And he was like, okay, do you mind if I run some blood work that pertains to that? And I was like, you can run any test you want. I can barely stay awake for this appointment, which he recognized. I said, I just want to go to sleep right now. I have a pounding headache. I'm nauseous. Like, you can run whatever you want. I know that there's something wrong with me. And he came back with my lab work about 10 days later and said that he strongly believed I had a tumor that produces excessive adrenaline. He didn't tell me the name. He didn't want me Dr. Googling. And he said, I need you to see an endocrinologist like today. And I explained to him that I wasn't happy with my care prior to him, and I was in the process of finding a new doctor. And he says, you don't have time. And I was just like flabbergasted. And he said, you need, I said, can you recommend a doctor to me, Ben? And he said, I recommend you get to Boston and you get there now. And I was like, just totally flabbergasted, kind of relieved that someone was listening to me and seeing how sick I was. And I kind of needed that push as well, because I was starting to feel like I was crazy. Maybe I was a hypochondriac. Like I was starting not to feel like I was sick there. Maybe it was in my head. And he definitely impressed upon me that I needed care fast. And I did have a connection at the Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center. So I got an endocrinologist within days there. And she was wonderful. She was great until she left and went to another state. But she cared for me during my first 2 months. Yeah.
So you had surgery at Beth Israel?
I had surgery at Beth Israel, yeah.
And
I was fully diagnosed at Beth Israel, so he did the initial blood work. This is strongly what I believe you have. There needs to be more testing, and you need to go see an endocrinologist, which I did. And they did more testing, another scan, and a 24-hour urine test, which was the test that said for sure, yes, you have this, without us doing a biopsy, which you cannot do with these type of tumors. If you biopsy a pheochromocytoma, you're likely not going to survive. So they don't even biopsy them because your body is in constant fight or flight. So just my body would react by sending adrenaline. So the only way to officially know what it is after you remove it. But they were strongly suggested through the test that I had had it. I will admit, there were times I wanted to just throw in the towel and give up, because it was almost a year of the struggle of trying to find what was wrong. It was many family and friends that kept pushing me like, Jen, we see how sick you are. My skin color was gray. I was yellowish at times. My eyes were never fully opened. Like I couldn't get through the day. I was still working, doing the best that I could, but napping frequently. I'd steal naps in my car. If people weren't around, I would, take a snooze here or there.
So tell me,
family and friends pushed me.
good, and that's always important to be surrounded by supporters. What did they tell you the cause is? Do they know?
Nope. It's so rare they don't know. There are some people who have a genetic component, so genetics plays a part for them. Those people usually will have a sister tumor called a paraganglioma, also known as a para. Some will have a pheo as well. Mine is not genetically linked at this time. It's still, obviously, there's not a lot of research. There's more happening, so hopefully someday we'll learn what caused mine, but no rhyme or reason. I'm 1 in a million.
Yeah, 1 in a million with a tumor that was trying to kill you.
That's exactly what I say. I had a tumor that tried to kill me.
Right. So, it's good to know that it's not genetically connected. Good for your kids.
Good for my kids. Exactly. That was my children still have all of my testing that they give to their children, my grandchildren's pediatricians, because I want them to be aware and know, and my siblings as well have all my information in case they need it. But as of right now, it just sporadically happened.
Yeah. Wow. But it's how you dealt with it. So tell us a little bit about that. After you had the surgery and you were recovering.
Well, before the surgery, I was in denial. Still, even though someone finally said, this is what we think you have, what they were saying I had was like inconceivable. Like, I can't grasp. You're telling me I have a tumor that even just sitting in a chair could kill me instantly and give me a heart attack or a stroke, and I might just die. And my doctor was like, yes, I'm telling you that. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense.
Do you think, since it's 1 in a million people that get it, there can't be very much research on this?
So that is what she did tell me. I'll never forget this question. There's so many things that happen when you have a diagnosis of any serious illness that you're kind of like, push, not me, no way, or it's unbelievable, how is this happening to me? And I had so many questions, but the one that sticks inside my head is my husband asked, so what's going to happen after? What do we know? And my doctor literally said, we don't know much. What we do know is we need to remove it, and removing it brings more risks, but that's the only cure for this. Like, I'm like, well, can we have radiation? Can I have chemo? Can we shrink it? Can we make it go away? And her response was, we can only make it go away by removing it. And that was scary because it made my risk of life less. Like, survival rate went down with surgery. So I have this 10% chance when I'm just sitting here, and now you're telling me it's lower when I go in for surgery. It was just mind-blowing.
Did they indicate that you could have died on the table?
Yes.
Oh,
that
boy.
was very big.
Wow.
Big.
So you're a very happy person sitting here today.
Yes.
And
yes.
And you're an inspiration also to those who hear your story, to never give up, to be resilient, to have a positive attitude, and basically to listen to your doctors who know all about this disease. Have you done any lobbying for NIH?
I raise money through the Pan Mass Challenge. I'm not sure. I think you mentioned,
yes.
Yep. So I ride in the Pan Mass Challenge. This is actually my 10th year coming up. I was actually diagnosed 2 days before my Pan Mass Challenge, my first ever Pan Mass Challenge. And that was even more difficult for me because my endocrinologist was telling me, you're not riding in the Pan Mass Challenge in 2 days because you're going to die if you do. And I'm like, nope, I am. And she's going on, and I'm saying to her, like, I just told all my friends and family that I'm doing this, and please give me money for research so we can help research all cancers. And now you're telling me I can't do that? I'm doing that. And she was ready. She had her gloves on, and so did I. And my husband said to her, I think we should let her ride one day, because if I know my wife, it's going to be more stressful for her not participating, following through with what she said, than it is if she rides.
So you rode and nothing happened?
Oh, no, I was very sick. We had a lot of stopping. My teammates were amazing. My husband was in his Jeep the entire route. I did Wellesley to Bourne, and I had to check my blood pressure. I was on medication that lowered my blood pressure and my heart rate. I had to drink a lot of water and salt. And it was very physically my most demanding day of my entire life. As soon as I was finished, I didn't even shower. I got in my husband's Jeep, fell asleep, and went home. And slept until mid-afternoon the next day. And then that was the day of my bed rest. I was officially on bed rest and waiting for surgery. And then I had my VO removed August 28th, 2015, a day I will never forget.
And that's 8 years ago. No, 9 years ago.
9.
Yes, 9 years ago. And here you are.
Yep.
So what would you tell our audience? What's the message you'd like to leave with people today?
I just would like people to listen to their bodies. For a long time, I ignored some simple symptoms like a raise in my blood pressure. I had night sweats for a good couple of years before I would admit that that was probably a sign of something. The blood pressure wasn't elevated to the risk of alarm all the time, but I had a few alarming blood pressures that I pushed aside as I drank too much coffee. And I would just say, you need to listen to your body. And if you have a symptom that lasts more than 2 weeks, maybe it's time to go tell your doctor and have things checked out and have a...
And isn't one of your messages also to pursue for an answer? When you get an answer that isn't really delivering on your symptoms and getting you better, you continue on the journey and you get referral after referral until you find the right person.
Exactly.
And I think a lot of people just go to their primary care doctor and that's it. And if they don't get an answer there, the journey stops. And that's not the way to go. You have to continue to find out what's wrong, and you did that.
Yes.
So that's important, to get the information that's critical to your recovery.
Yeah, that was my next message. Advocate for yourself and have a person or several people that help you, because it's very easy to give up. There were times I wanted to give up, and if it were not for some close family and friends pushing me to keep looking further and digging deeper, I may have, that was a long journey for myself, and I needed to advocate for myself, but I needed help with other people to help me advocate and push me. So rely on a good family member, a friend to help you through that. You're never alone in that. And I never felt alone in my quest for an answer.
So now what is the current situation for you? You were talking to me earlier about the fact that it could always come back.
So I have to be monitored every year of my life, because they're finding in new research that it can come back, even 10 years later. So you do have to be monitored. For me now, unfortunately, the excessive amount of adrenaline that I had in my body during that time, I have some very unique complications, and one of them, or two of them I should say, can actually be quite detrimental. I have to monitor my blood sugar constantly. I wear a continuous glucose monitor. So I need to wear that, and it's very strange, but being cold, it's very tough in New England, everyone. Being cold is really bad for me. It can do many, like drop my blood sugar and cause a lot of issues. So I have to be very careful of my body temperature.
Mm-hmm.
So my blood pressure actually goes low more than high now. So I have to be aware of that, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
So my nervous system is a little bit out of whack.
You were 44 years old when you were diagnosed.
Yeah.
Now you're 53.
Mm-hmm.
And the journey has been long and tedious.
And rewarding.
But rewarding, yes. And you have this wonderful message of inspiration and hope to tell people. But I think the most important thing is be aware of your body. Don't just fluff off things. We women are much better at paying attention to those symptoms and things and getting help. Men, of course, men out there, don't be macho. Don't say, oh, I hate doctors. You should love your doctor and you should pursue. I know your husband came down, you said, with prostate cancer.
Yes, my husband, 8 months after my diagnosis, was diagnosed with prostate cancer. He's a firefighter, and prostate cancer is actually one of the top cancers that firefighters are getting. There's many, but you would never think prostate cancer for a firefighter. Most people would think lung or skin, but he had prostate cancer at 45.
Okay, which is very unusual, as we all know. So he saw what you were going through, and he pursued it too, and relentlessly, and now
he was better at pursuing than I will admit. You said the men. In his case, he's the one who listens to his body. I'm the reverse. I'm the not me. Not going to happen. Okay. I never get sick.
Okay, so he
was the one who was like, he was pursuing his prostate cancer before we even knew I was sick. He knew he had it. The levels were very low, so they just monitored him.
Well, it's wonderful to have a man in your life who is sensitive to that, but most men aren't. Right. And that's why women outlive men, without a doubt. Okay, so if your longevity is something you'd like to have, listen to Jen Marchetti here and her husband's journey also. So we're going to have to close for now, but thank you, Jen, so much for coming and sharing.
Thank you for having me.
Sharing your story. It's a remarkable story. An Almquist grad who has gone through 9 years and continuing a journey of hope and inspiration, but also taking care of herself and knowing what she has to do. Guided by specialists who came to her rescue, finally, after many months of not knowing. And good luck in the future.
Thank you.
I know you're going to be a survivor. You're going to live to an old age. You're going to have great grandchildren.
As long as I live, the years don't matter. It's the quality.
Absolutely. And thank you very much for watching. Until next time, this is Priscilla Almquist-Olsen bidding you farewell and be well until we meet again.
Community Forum is sponsored by the Easton Grange 196 and a friend of Yardley Wood Rink and the Easton Lions Club.